Welcome back to B-Side Banter. This is episode 18. I am here with James from Country Minute. You've probably seen him, especially if you're a country fan. You have huge following on TikTok, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. Super excited to have you on, James, partly because we don't talk a lot about country, but we need to. So I'm going to kick it to you and maybe just give us a little bit of what you do on your channels and where we can find you, all that stuff.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is James. I, along with my wife, run Country Minute. We like to call ourselves your number one source for country music news or country music's biggest fans. Our whole idea is that country music is this big, sprawling thing. We don't kind of
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to the idea that Hank wouldn't have done it that way, therefore it's not country music. I think country music has a lot of different limbs and styles, and we try to bring it all together on our page through a lot of community effort. So we travel the country, literally. We've been all over the country, and we go to different events and concerts and talk to fans and capture the moment to try to bring you into the country music world, no matter where you are, no matter what your budget is. You can be third row at George Strait, or you can be at CMA Fest, or you can be at Sand in My Boots through our eyes. And then we talk to everybody there to kind of like paint a big picture of what it means to be a fan of country music in 2025. You can find us at Country Minute anywhere you find social media content, but ultimately, it's a long way of saying that we do news and like talk to people. It's basically what
Yeah.
we do.
For sure. No, that's awesome. Yeah, and you've been like going crazy this summer. You've been all over the place, which is a lot of fun, but I'm sure hectic for you as well.
Yeah, so like I said, I do this with my wife Laura. We've been married for 3 years this fall. We have a 18-month-old son, but a
Mm,
lot of what we do requires us to travel. Now, she's a radio DJ by trade. I do this full time, but she's
mm.
the camera person. She's the magic
Okay.
to everything that happens.
Nice.
So
Yep.
I can't really go anywhere and do what a lot of people like without having her there. So in the last
Absolutely.
6 weeks, we've done like 10,000 miles. We've been to
Sheesh.
Minnesota, Nashville, Gulf Shores, Vegas. We've been all over the country, and we're about to go out again here in like 10 days. I'll be in Brainerd, Minnesota for Lakes Jam.
Man, that is wild. You're committed, and I appreciate that. I will have to admit that country is not my favorite genre. I have a very specific kind of taste around country. I'm not
Okay.
huge into kind of like the big time pop country, but I really enjoy kind of the fringe. I think a lot of people call it like outlaw, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So like I enjoy Coulter Wall. I enjoy like Tyler Childers. I kind of like Zach Bryan, I guess, as well. And then I kind of like kind of that bluesy stuff that Chris Stapleton does. Those are kind of the people that I really enjoy. I'm not as big of a fan around the Morgan Wallens or the Luke Combs or et cetera, et cetera. But I definitely know that country is just skyrocketing in popularity. It's just blowing up like crazy the last probably 5 years, maybe 10 years even. Um, but I would love to kind of hear your perspective on how that started, why that started, what you think maybe catapulted country into more of the mainstream. I know it's been popular, especially in the US, for a really long time, but it does feel
Mm-hmm.
like lately it's like one of the most listened to genres out there.
I mean, I think that the heart of country music has always been about family and community, even back
Mm-hmm.
to its origins. It's always about passing down stories and metaphors about how to live life and things along those lines. And
Yeah.
in our increasingly digital and sometimes disconnected world, I think there's something about music that has that intrinsically built into it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone's looking for a sound that resonates with them or makes them
Yeah.
feel less alone in the world. And I think that country music is, in some instances built mathematically to do that. And in other instances, a storyteller just, has a way to be so pure. It's an art form that really celebrates the storyteller versus, maybe how other genres might treat that idea. Sometimes the story isn't the most important part of the song, but in country
Mm-hmm.
music, it almost always is. And
Yeah.
I think we're at an age where people are really hungry for stories, and
Mm-hmm.
as much as we have an abundance of streaming services and movies and everything else, that's all takes a long time to consume. I don't have 20 hours to
Mm-hmm.
to bury into that, but a
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
can change your life in 2.5 minutes, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool, right? So
Yeah.
people
Absolutely.
find that country music has the ability to do that, and I think that for whatever reason, that music tends to just stick around longer. I mean, turn on
Mm,
country radio today and you'll hear a song from 10 years ago that's still being
yeah,
played almost every single day, multiple times a day. That
it's
doesn't
true.
happen in
Yeah.
pop. It does happen in rock and roll, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just something that sticks with you, you know. I think that, and I think on a global scale, I think that it was always popular, but we just live in an age where people have more access to it, right?
Mm,
And those
yeah.
artists can travel to those places, and the ability, that's a benefit, a side effect of the streaming culture. As much as it might hurt artists in some ways, in other ways, it opened up an entire world of people to sounds that they might not have otherwise heard.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's super interesting. I'm in Nashville, which is kind of funny that I just said that I don't really love pop country, but I'm in Nashville, and it's quickly becoming and has been becoming for a long time one of the, like the top tourist destinations in the country. Just for I think that sake that people want to come here, they want to hear country music. They want like yeah, sure, maybe they want to party as well because Nashville is a big party city, but for the most part, it seems like people want to go. They want to hear live music. They want to see kind of maybe some of that stuff that people are talking about in country music songs. They're walking around. They're going to bars, listening to people playing country music all day long. Um, it's become a big thing that people want to be a part of, and it
Uh-huh.
is really cool to see. Um, Most people that live in Nashville try to stay away from those tourist areas, but my wife and I and my daughter actually we kind of love just like driving down Broadway sometimes with the windows down, just hearing all the different music, seeing the people. Everybody's just so happy to be there. They love it. They
Yeah.
love being in this kind of, like you said, the kind of joining in this family,
Uh-huh.
um, which is this music that they grew up listening to, maybe that their parents grew up listening to. You're getting, you're getting, just as much 30, 40-year-old music being played at the bars as your current stuff. Like it's all wrapped in one. And you've got, lots of middle-aged to older people coming as younger people. It's just such an interesting kind of area and space to be in.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where, especially for families, right? Like it goes back
Yeah.
to that storyteller element, right? You can put on almost any country artist, like CMA Fest just happened, and with the
Yeah.
exception of like half a dozen that might get a little risque or a little bit profane at times,
Hmm.
everyone can see all of those artists. And
Yeah.
if your kids learn the songs, you're not necessarily mad about it. Sometimes
Yeah.
there are some crazy metaphors in there for,
Hmm.
whatever, but if your child is singing it in a Walmart parking lot, you're not going to like have heads turn the way you might in
Yeah.
other genres.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
that like
totally.
it's just as a parent, even like my wife and I always talk about like we'll take our kid to see whatever he's interested in because that's how we grew up. But we hope he likes country music because you learn those songs early and then they're a
Mhm.
part of your life forever. That's what makes, like, I know people that live in Nashville don't love Broadway, but that's where people that love country music come. Like it's fun to go down there and see people like
Absolutely.
sing Chicken Fried at 2 in the afternoon on a
Yeah,
Thursday.
seriously.
That's
Yeah,
a good feeling.
absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah.
not every day, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
it's good like where else I don't hear that happen with like, you know, pop songs that are 15 years old
Yeah.
necessarily all the time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's just, it's a different culture.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think that, like, in Tennessee, again, like, we've got Memphis that has, like, a rich music history, a little bit different, but
Mhm.
they've kind like I think to a degree they've kind of tried to do something similar to Nashville, but it's not country. It's like a lot of blues, a lot of like maybe some more jazz, and it just hasn't like we've been there a couple times. It's not the same. Like they try to kind of make their downtown similar, where you're going to bars, listening to live music. It's not the same. People aren't drawn to it in the same way as they're drawn to Nashville, which is just like yeah, it's completely bonkers. Like here in the summertime, basically from like early spring to late fall, it is just absolutely insanity at on Broadway at all times. Like there's never really a lull, and it's pretty wild to think that like that never would have been on my radar.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Canada. We moved to Nashville. My wife's a songwriter, so we moved to Nashville for the reason of being in this community, and I it was never on my radar that Nashville was a place to go for vacation. Like never ever. And then we moved here and I was like, "Oh, I get it. I get it now. I understand." But, you know,
Yeah.
we were always looking for beaches and stuff, not for, that entertainment side that Nashville offers.
Oh no, I wanted to work in music my entire life, so Nashville was a tourist destination for us as a family. Like
Yeah,
that's where I wanted to
absolutely.
go.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah,
Um,
so we still end up there 6 times a year probably.
yeah.
We just
Oh,
don't
I'm
move
sure.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, there's so much stuff that happens here for you and specifically
Yeah.
for your channels and stuff. You'd be here all the time. Um, yeah, and like I guess like too, what it's just such like a communal place. Like even though it is a city and it's grown exponentially, and especially in the past 20 years, it still feels kind of like a small town. Like everybody knows each other.
Hmm.
On a whim, we just kind of went to Jelly Roll's like last concert that he added in Nashville. Like it wasn't a part of his original tour.
Yeah.
And he added it on. We went because the tickets were cheap, and we were like, hey, why not? And we were way up in the nosebleeds, and just casually, Ernest was opening for him.
Uh-huh.
Casually, Ernest brings out Morgan Wallen. We're like, whoa, this is crazy. If Ernest is bringing out Morgan Wallen as an opener, what is Jelly Roll going to do? Because like he can't be outdone by his opener. And then Jelly Roll brings out Keith Urban. Then he brings out Snoop Dogg, and we're
Hmm.
like, "This is insane!" Like apart from Snoop Dogg, because it's not like Snoop is in Nashville all the time, but he was a lot there because he was writing with people in Nashville. But
Yeah.
like only in Nashville do they add a tour date, and then they're like, "Let's bring out all these big time artists." Like it's crazy to me, and
You're not
everybody
wrong.
knows everybody, especially when you've got somebody like Ernest in the mix, who's writing for so many people and such an amazing writer and artist himself. But yeah, it was just such a cool thing, such a cool thing to see that like, hey, all these people are coming around. They're coming around these guys on this tour, and they're just having fun. They're singing their songs, and it was really cool.
Yeah, man, it is neat to see. It is like a big community. Even when my wife and I travel there, we don't live there obviously, but when we
Mhm.
do visit, it does. Our calendar fills up very quickly. It's easy to lose yourself with people there. That's why people move there because that's where everyone is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Um, One thing that like I'm curious about, and maybe there could be two parts to this, but one thing that obviously with the rise of Morgan Wallen, there's been this adoption of like a whole different genre that nobody thought was really possible within country. This kind of trap, the trap music, trap country. He kind of popularized it, whether or not he was the one that initiated it into country. He definitely made it as big as it is because of how big he is as an artist. Um, but it's interesting to see how country is kind of taking some of this, something that nobody really thought could go together, putting it together. It's now probably one of the biggest, thanks to Morgan, one of the biggest like kind of side things within country. Um, like what do you think? Kind of influenced that where people are trying like looking like they want to bring these outside genres that it doesn't say, it's like kind of square peg and a round hole, at least to most people, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it
I
works.
mean, this happens anytime we start talking about the history of country music at all. But I mean, that is country music in my book. I mean, people will tell you there are a lot of people that think country music started here or there, but at the end of the day, country music is just kind of an amalgamation of a whole bunch of different things, right? It always was.
Yeah.
It is the community stew of music. It's a little
Mhm.
bit of rhythm and blues. There's some rock and roll. There's folk music. There's tribal music. You don't get the banjo unless it's brought over by people from Africa. You don't get the fiddle without that. And those string bands are a big influence in what happens in early
Yeah,
country music. But then,
absolutely.
you have the Carter family who are literally traveling around Appalachia, going to churches and communities and
Mhm.
saying, what are the songs that you pass down, changing the lyrics, and then pushing those out of like it's all coming together through all these pieces. So whenever
Mhm.
somebody that's why I really push back about when people say like, oh, Hank wouldn't have done it this way. Like Hank Williams
Mhm.
died at 29 years old in 1953.
Yeah.
Of course he wouldn't use 808s. They didn't exist. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
It's just one of those
yeah,
things. And I
yeah.
mean that with all respect. I love what he did, but
Mhm.
just he was a product of his time the same way Morgan Wallen is today. Like that tradition of like, let's throw a little bit of this into the pot and see what happens. Like that's at the heart of what makes country music country music. It's supposed to bring
Yeah.
all these things together. And that's why that community element is so good in it because everyone
Mhm.
can see themselves in some small aspect of it. So I think the introduction of EDM or hip hop or trap beats or whatever you want to say is all
Mhm.
just the natural evolution of the genre. And that other stuff is always going to be there. Like you like Culture Wall, or if
Yeah.
people that like Tyler Childers, that's always going to be there. And there will be people who call that traditionalist country and people that
Yeah.
call that pure country or real country. And I don't argue that. But
Yeah.
I also don't think that the Kentucky Gentlemen or Morgan Wallen or anyone like that or Hardy are necessarily breaking the genre by any
Mhm.
means.
Yeah.
They're just pioneering a new chapter in the story. And like
Mhm.
how big that branch on the tree of country music is and how many leaves and it flourishes, all that is to be determined. Morgan Wallen clearly off to a start, but you have to have people that are fusing all this new stuff into it. Because if they all sounded like Culture Wall, it would just not be where it is now, right?
Yeah,
Like that
absolutely.
boiling
Yeah.
point is a result of all those other things starting to pour into it.
Mm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you bring up, the Carters. I'm assuming you saw that whole thing that was going around where was it, Shabuzi and Megan Moroney that were
Mm-hmm.
presenting, and Megan mentioned like that basically the Carters kind of started country music, and Shabuzi gave her that side eye, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it blew up all over the place." But it is interesting. Obviously, we don't have to necessarily get into exactly what was going on there, but I think that's kind of what you're talking about is that country music, its beginnings are so all over the place. And
Yeah.
it's taking so much music that comes from so many different places, which you can probably say that about most genres, but yeah, it does seem like country music was kind of this amalgamation of like like what are you guys singing? Well, let's kind of put all this together. Like what
Yeah,
the
but
Carter family did.
I think everyone just needs to be more empathetic with each other. I mean, it's not a matter of I don't think not caring. Usually, it's not knowing, and it's like, well,
Mhm.
you can't blame somebody because they don't know about the artist in Atlanta in 1923 who like got
Yeah.
famous on one radio station and was touring the country playing country like that.
Mhm.
It's a little gatekeepy. I
Yeah.
don't subscribe to that. That's why I'm
Yeah.
also like that's another reason why I hate that Hank wouldn't have done it this way. I'm like, I can't you can't make people like that. You can't be like this
Mhm.
is what it is or you can't like it. It's like wherever I meet you where you are. That's the beauty
Yeah.
of country music.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah. Yeah. And now too, I think I actually saw this through your channel, but now too, the Grammys like have kind of changed their categories, right? They have like a traditional country category now, or at least they're trying to introduce that. Is that correct? And as opposed
Yes.
to, which is interesting because yeah, like that was a big deal at the Grammys where people were very upset, especially country traditionalists or country purists were very upset about Beyonce winning um, for Cowboy Carter, which could like jump into the second part of what I was kind of getting at with this adoption of genres is on top of the adoption of genres, we have this like big kind of influx of artists that aren't traditionally country artists coming in making country albums. You've got Post Malone, you've got
Mhm.
Beyonce, which I think there's more people would argue that Beyonce's album isn't as much country in genre as it is like country in theme. But again, what how do you really I don't know how do you really define genre? Like it's everybody's
Yeah.
definition is a little different. But you've got these big artists coming in, putting out country albums, and it seems like the Post Malone was kind of accepted, Beyonce kind of not, and definitely there was a big uproar over Beyonce winning the country category. um, what were kind of your thoughts around all of this when it was happening?
I mean, I think that when it comes down to for Morgan Wallen, Post Malone, and Beyonce, just as an example, and I think a lot of artists have already talked about this in other places.
Mhm.
Post Malone would do what you call did the work. He came to Nashville. He sat in
Yeah,
songwriters' rooms. If you look at the credits on his record, it's filled with the same people who write Morgan Wallen's records and have
yeah,
Ernest and Hardy,
hmm,
and those names are on there along with other people,
hmm,
obviously. But
yeah,
he immersed himself in the culture and then created a record that was he felt was representative of who he is and what he loves about the culture.
hmm,
And Beyonce's album kind of came in. A lot of people felt out of left field. I don't know that I don't really care. At the end of the day, I think it's all
yeah,
just marketing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think a lot of people felt like that treatment wasn't the same, right? Like they try to say, like,
Mhm.
you didn't want us to be a part of it. This is the message that I think a lot of fans tried to make it into be. It's like they didn't want you to be a part of country, so you made a country album just to prove that you don't need country music. And like that's not how the whole game of country music works. It's
Yeah.
like I remember like Ronnie Dunn always says it's like a giant table. Everyone has a seat at the table, but everyone secretly doesn't like each other. But
Mm.
I think about the metaphor. And Kelly Sutton, the host of WSM Radio and Y'all Access to Kelly Sutton, she says that country music is a big table and there's space for everybody. So I think I like this metaphor. There's a giant table.
Yeah.
There's room for everybody at the
Mhm.
table. And
Mhm.
just because you are able to get a few million streams doesn't mean that this traditionalist artist won't be able to get a few million streams.
Yeah.
That's all just silly.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do think
Yeah.
that there's something to be said for being respectful about it. And it's the same thing happens to us. Like a few months ago, I made a video about an old classic country album. And I don't talk about classic country as much as I used to. I'm mostly a modern, current, what's
Mhm.
happening guy. But I
Yeah.
have a classic country collection. I made a video about one, and I got a detail not wrong, but I kind of told a story in a way that another creator that I know didn't really agree with, and he kind
Mhm.
of really upset him because he was like, no, 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 you talk about these artists, these modern artists, this way, but you're not as empathetic to the artists in the set. You treat them like this, and he had
Mhm.
a point, but also it was country. There's enough room for everybody at the table,
Mhm.
and whenever you start splitting hairs about what is and isn't, it's like you've already lost the plot.
Yeah.
Like this isn't what it's
Totally.
all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that this kind of division in categories at the Grammys is gonna be overall positive, or do you think it's just kinda probably not gonna make a difference, or
I mean, the Grammys have about 85 categories. I think 12 make it to television. I would assume that traditionalist country album isn't going to be one of them. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
true, yeah.
it's cool that
Yeah.
they added that category, but it's like best comedy album, like cool. That's
Yeah.
great that exists,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah.
it's just for those artists and it's for those artists fans. It's so that a Sierra Farrell or a Coulter Wall or Tyler Childers can get nominated and feel like in their
Sure.
fans and that, but
Yeah.
also from like a spending standpoint, it's also nice, all those artists are now going to have to spend to be a part of a Grammy campaign, and it's
Yeah.
a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, true. That's so true.
It's
Uh,
performative as much as
yeah.
anything else,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if you're the Grammys, you want people to tweet about the Grammys. So is it
Mm.
better to have 6 albums that people are talking about or 12? 12.
Absolutely, 12. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's very true. And, yeah, I guess, like, I've heard some people kinda talking about how, like, hopefully it will keep, like, I don't, it's so weird. Anyway, I like kind of talking about like it almost in a gatekeeping way. Hopefully it'll keep these like bigger artists like a little bit further away from country. And it's like, I don't know if that's
Mhm.
what you want.
No.
Because like Lana Del Rey was also slated to kind of do a country thing. I don't know if she's scrapped that since. I know that that was like a thing announced maybe a couple years ago.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if she's still doing that. And then you've got like Chapel Roan just put out basically a Shania Twain song. Not really, but like it was a Chapel Roan song, but so Shania Twain esque. So you've got these big artists that obviously they enjoy the genre, and I'm
Mhm.
sure they grew up listening to country, and um, I think it's overall a beneficial thing. I think, like you were saying, I think it's kind of the natural development of country is that people are coming into it. Yeah, I'm sure Beyonce is not going to put out like, you know, like a I don't even know who I would say like a like a traditional country album. She's gonna
Yeah.
put her own spin on it. She's gonna put her own twist on it. She probably won't jump genres so
Mhm.
drastically, but then you've got Post Malone who did. So you can have both and it makes it a lot of fun. I think at least
I
for me
think
it was.
I think some people are probably going to start not saying it's a country album and instead rolling out records that are country infused and then letting
Mhm.
people decide for themselves. And then I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that moves it to fans. And if fans decide your country, then it's fine. For example, this week, so last week or 2 weeks ago now at CMA Fest, Noah Cyrus played at the Spotify House. You're like, Noah
Mhm.
Cyrus isn't really a country person, but
Yeah,
sure, why not? That
yeah,
happens at CMA Fest.
yeah.
But then yesterday, got a press release. New Noah Cyrus album does not say the word country, but if you get 3 paragraphs into the press release, it
Yeah.
describes the album as being inspired by country and Americana. And you're like, okay,
Mm.
so it's a country album.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
but we're not saying that. We're saying it's a
Yeah.
new expansive project from Noah
Mm.
Cyrus. And if you decide it's a country album,
Yeah.
you know,
Sure. Do you think that kind of nuanced approach is them trying to protect themselves against the fans, or them trying to protect themselves against the industry, like the country industry?
well, honestly, I think people just like to be mad, and a lot of people don't like to get involved with that. I mean, like, let me
Yeah.
give you a great example. So, like a month ago, I know that you're not big in country music, but I'll just lay it out for you. So, like a month
Yeah.
ago, Gary LeVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts,
Mhm.
he released a song with Akon, that rapper singer from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
early 2000s. They put
Yeah.
out a song together. It's called "Hold the Umbrella." If you do clips, this would be where you drop that sound bite. And the song there's a ton of articles. If you Google "Hold the Umbrella," the first
Mhm.
few articles will be like, "This might be the worst song of the year," or the
Mhm.
song, you know, like, "This is bad. This is not
Mhm.
good."
Yeah.
Well, then CMA Fest rolls around a few weeks ago, and the team working the song reaches out and is like, "Do you want to interview Gary LeVox and Akon?" And, you know, obviously we're like, yeah, we'd love to. And they were like, you got to act fast because there's like 50 people in the media room and every single person wants to talk to Gary LeVox and Akon. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that 2 weeks ago everyone was like, I'm going to dunk on them for being the word. Everyone is
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
wants, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Totally.
it's all just performative for
Yeah.
clicks. So
Yeah.
there's this quote by Kevin Smith that's like the filmmaker where he says, everyone always asks me why I don't talk about why I don't hate more movies. I'm always crying about how much I love movies. I never talk about
Mm.
how much I hate something. And he's like,
Yeah.
it's just not interesting to me. It's not worth my
Yeah.
time. You
Mm.
know, I'd rather
Mhm.
talk about how much I love something and maybe you'll learn to love it than
Yeah.
like add to the cacophony of hate. So I just feel like all of that stuff is so performative
Yeah.
for the, you know, you want people to click on the article. And
Yeah.
I get it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of boring.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I've talked with various other
Mhm.
music content creators on here just about that. How like it's easy and it's tempting to kind of go down that negative rabbit hole because you do get more clicks because more people are upset at you if you are saying something really negative about their favorite artist or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you get more clicks, you get more views. That's literally if you're gonna like go and watch like some sort of TikTok guru talk about going viral, they're literally gonna tell you do something controversial. Like that's just what everybody knows that that's what gets
Yeah.
views and what gets you out there.
Mhm.
But is that something you want to do? Do you want to be in that space all the time where you're literally fighting with people all the time? And like you said, yeah, it does get boring because your opinion is always negative and people start to expect that. Um, obviously when you're in music criticism, there is a fine line you walk where you don't want to also just say positive things about things all the time. But some people, some creators, they just choose if they don't like something, they just don't talk about it. They're just like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Right? So like let me think about it this way. So you're a person that follows me, right?
Mhm.
So this is what I always talk to people always ask me about content creation, like how did you grow and stuff. So
Yeah.
I tell them two things. First thing is I always ask myself, would I watch this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I talk to a lot of radio stations in particular because we talk a
Mhm.
lot about country radio.
Mhm.
And like every radio station makes content. Most of it is terrible. And I'll tell them that to their faces
Yeah.
because none of them want like they all sit on TikTok and Instagram like we do. And
Mhm.
then they make a video that they would not watch on TikTok or Instagram and post
Yeah.
it. And then they go,
Yeah.
why is this not working?
Yeah.
So the first thing is like, would I watch this? Which is the
Mhm.
hardest thing in the world to answer. And the
Yeah.
second thing beyond that is if this is the only time you're engaging with me each day, like how do I want you to walk away from me as a person or swipe away?
Mhm.
And if you get
Mhm.
mad because you hate my dumb face saying we've got to talk about it, I get
Mhm.
that, and I'm like, I forgive you, I don't
Yeah.
care. It's like I have a catchphrase and
Yeah.
you're gonna hate it. That's
Yeah.
fine, I
Yeah. Yeah.
accept that. But I never want somebody to just be like even if they're just having an okay day and they scroll to me and I'm like, can you believe this idiot tries to
Yeah.
like chase their dream? Because
Yeah.
you're trying to chase a dream. And if this guy who spent $30,000 on a marketing campaign and has a music video and has a label deal is putting out something and I'm like, this guy should put his dreams on hold, you should put your dreams on hold. And that's
Mhm.
just like not my thing. So I'm always
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
I talk about what I love. And if someone asks me about an artist that I don't really necessarily care for, I'll highlight something that I like about them, but we just
Mhm.
kind of move on. I always tell people like, we even if I'm talking about people for news and stuff, like if you pay attention to what I talk about with some level of frequency, you could start to be like, okay, so James likes these things because
Yeah, sure.
maybe it's not the biggest traffic getter. Like obviously I like Morgan Wallen, but also Morgan Wallen pays our bills sometimes. Talking
Yeah.
about Morgan, like I always tell
Yeah.
people like Morgan
Yeah.
Wallen has paid our rent more months than any other country artist
Yeah,
by
for sure.
sheer just like getting in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but there are other artists like Chase Matthew who does pretty okay for us like traffic wise, but
Mm,
personally we really love, and so we will get
mm,
behind him and be like, maybe we can help push him to that next level. But even if he never
sure.
gets there, we're gonna bet on him. And like, I'd rather make that content than be like, can
Mm,
you believe the new blah 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 album is mid?
mm.
It's
Yeah.
just not worth my time. I just don't want that to
Yeah.
be your impression of me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally get that. Um, kind of following this thread, who are some artists that you are following that are your kind of people?
I genuinely thought you were going to be like, but anyways, who do you hate?
That
Which
would
would
be
be
so
like,
good.
it would be such a funny, I would have been like, yeah, that's fine. I walked into that one. No. So right now, man, that's such a tough thing. So I'll tell you two answers. I was looking around because I thought I had it sitting next to me. So then, right now, I'm really into the new Dirks Bentley album just came
Okay.
out, Broken
Yeah.
Branches. We just did an
Mhm.
unboxing yesterday. That's why I thought it was sitting here where I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
unboxings.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really into that record.
Mhm.
They don't
Mhm.
send those to me. Sometimes they send me stuff, but on vinyl, I'm usually buying. Like I'm
Mhm.
spending the $40 for a video
Yeah.
that's going to make $3.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I really like the album and I want to
Yeah,
help the
totally.
artist, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm into that right now, and
Mhm.
then I've been listening to. I'll just tell you what's on repeat on Spotify right now. That's the easiest way
Yeah.
to do this because I am
Yeah.
obsessed with monitoring my on repeat on Spotify. So I'll tell you what's coming up. I will tell you Morgan Wallen is on it quite a bit,
Mm.
probably. The new
Well, it's
Tyler
kinda hard
Shores
to.
version of Nose on the Grindstone. There's this
Mhm.
artist from Zach John King just put out his first debut EP
Okay.
in May 23rd. I think he's on Sony. Love him to death. Big
Mm.
songs, big hooks. He has
Mm.
but from a marketing and content standpoint, there's only 6 songs on this thing. Every time this guy puts out like a piece of content, I'm obsessed. Like the color
Mm.
grading is great. It's
Okay.
really visually
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just the same stupid hooks you see artists do all the time. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
for
yeah.
his first song, Slow Down, he filmed it on his farm and he's on an ATV, but it's just the way they filmed most of the video with him riding this ATV, and it's stabilized and the color grading is really good. It just
Mm.
looks engaging. It just looks
Mm.
great.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I'm big onto him. The new Parker McCollum album comes out at the end of the month. Obsessed with Parker McCollum, one of our
Mm.
all-time favorites. And then I'll tell you, my favorite set of CMA Fest is this group,
Okay.
the Kentucky Gentlemen.
Mhm.
They're from Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's a twin brothers, and they
Yeah.
make you would not, maybe not be your thing because they make
Mm.
country pop, but
Mhm.
it is a kind of country pop that I've never heard anyone make before. They call it the
Mm.
Rhinestone Revolution. It's big, it's brash, it's still deeply rooted in country. There's still
Mm.
fiddles and banjos and
Yeah.
a choir, but there's just this fun element to it. And they make their own outfits and they do
Mm.
choreography on stage, and it was amazing. We were at CMA Fest.
Interesting.
They did
Yeah.
an album release show at the Blue Room, which is Third Man Records' little performance space,
Mhm.
and it was packed. And it was just, we went to like over a dozen shows in the last 2 days, but that was like, we were immediately like, this is the best thing we've seen all week. It was
Mm.
just an incredible performance by a group who I don't even know what the ceiling is for like they're doing something so uniquely original that even
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they've spent the money for content,
Mm.
right? Like they
Yeah.
have a real video team, they have a
Yeah.
real marketing team.
Yeah.
And I just don't, sometimes like I don't know where this goes. The world
Mm.
just has to discover it and decide like this is as awesome as we all think it is and push
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no lane for it.
Mhm. Yeah. That's kind of exciting though. That's like when artists take risks like that. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
one of
exciting.
one. It's the same reason that you love a culture wall, because you're just like,
Mm.
what is this? Like,
Yeah.
where does
Yeah.
it's so singular?
Yeah.
That like if he dies, it dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what these brothers are doing, just with
Yeah.
pop music.
Yeah. 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 Well, and if somebody tries to copy it, it's too obvious. It's like,
It's
oh,
too
come on.
obvious.
It's
Yeah,
come on, buddy. Like you can't do that. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, it's that is really cool. I have to check them out. I
Absolutely.
have heard some buzz around them. Like I haven't not heard of them.
Yeah,
But I haven't heard any of their music yet. But I've heard some people talking about them for sure.
they're
Um,
fabulous. Love them.
yeah, as much as I don't like country, like I'm still like I'm immersed in it here. Like
Mhm.
there's no option. Well, and especially because my wife's a songwriter, so like obviously there's no option to not
Yeah.
be immersed in it. So I of all, which is so funny, like I probably know more country news than any other genre, which is just kind of an ironic thing for me. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of really cool stories, um, to be followed within the country world, which is a huge world. But what would be some of those, like whether it's like maybe some, you already kind of mentioned this, that newish artist, but what are some stories that you're really enjoying following right now?
Ooh, interesting question. Stories I'm following right now. Okay, what am I interested in right now? I was trying to think of what I've been working on because sometimes it's like, what am I working on? So,
Mm,
like, what we do is very highly focused around 1 minute content, but a lot of the things we
yeah.
want to do is bigger. So,
Mm,
a great
sure.
example is when we were at CMA Fest, we have a series called Cover Stories. We haven't done a lot of them, but
Mm,
it's basically like tell me the story behind your album covers. And so
mm,
we went to the
that's
Grand Ole
cool.
Opry and we met this band Exile. They've been around since 1963.
Mm,
Most of the original members are still there,
mm,
and they have a ton of albums. And so we sat down with them to make one of these, but instead of being like 60 seconds long like they usually are, this thing has to be like 25 minutes long.
yeah.
And so I'm trying to like figure out what I'm going to
Yeah.
do with it.
Yeah.
We
How do
have a
you push that
YouTube
out?
channel, but like it's just one of
Yeah.
those things that it's like, I've been honestly, I've been avoiding it. If I'm
Mm,
full disclosure, I have enough stuff that I need to
yeah.
dig through right now from
Yeah.
CMA Fest. That's like
Yeah.
just at the bottom, at the
Yeah.
pile.
Well, and like
Uh,
once you get into long form content, like there's just
uh
so much more commitment there, right? Like there's
Absolutely.
a lot of commitment. Yeah, in a
And,
way.
beyond that, so there's a country artist. Her name is Ansley Davidson. She's in college, or
Mm,
I think she's about to graduate at this point. I don't know.
okay.
She goes to Belmont, which is not a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But what is surprising is that I get a lot of Belmont music, and I've been
Mm,
following this girl since before I think she even started college. She's a great songwriter, and she's making content in her dorm room that's
mm,
really well done cinematography wise,
mm,
and it's cool to see somebody who has all the pieces and doesn't have the budget. You know what I mean? Like they're
yeah.
making it work. And so
Yeah.
I've been watching her for a few years now. I think she's going to be big soon. Plus, there's no Ansleys in country music that I know of. So like
Mm-hmm.
getting to be the first one is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Totally.
something to
Yeah.
that, right? There's just like
Yeah.
a marketability of like
Yeah.
if your name is Luke, there's a lot of Lukes out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and there's no Ansleys. So Ansley
Yeah.
Davidson has a story that I've really been into. And then there's these guys
Mm-hmm.
from Pittsburgh named Lakeview. They put like hard rock and country music together. So think like you could
Mm,
play it at Vans Warped Tour, but also it just played CMA Fest.
mm,
Um, I think that fusion is kind of like what you were talking about with Morgan Wallen. Like that might be the
mm.
next frontier is like
Okay.
hard rock and country music fusing together. They're
Interesting.
doing something nobody's really done before, and it's
Yeah.
starting to really catch at radio slowly but surely.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm trying to Ansley Davidson sounds really familiar to me. Um, is she the one that just had like something blow up? Like oh no, I don't think this is it. Um, dorm rooms. Yeah, no, this isn't the same person, I don't think. But there was a girl that just had on Instagram, like had a huge, like her song blow up. Like I'm talking like 5 million streams on Spotify.
Oh wow.
Um, I might have to like send you their stuff after, but it was one of those situations where it really truly was like just a complete like it just took off like completely organically, like no money boosted into it. um yeah, just totally from nowhere, like a person that probably had under 2,000 followers on Instagram just to like now a big deal. I don't know if anything's come from it. I don't know if she's gotten any kind of outreach from labels or anything like that. I just know about it because my wife kind of knows her in kind of the sphere. But yeah, it's Ansley. I think I know who you're talking about now. I see her stuff, and I've seen her stuff going around for sure. She's got a really
Yeah.
unique, cool thing going. But anyway, I thought it was the two people. But um, yeah, that's really cool. It's exciting to see some of these developments, like in and I think like the hardest part, because like obviously you're really well versed in the marketing side of country and what it takes for an artist to break and for them to kind of pop like out into the scene from a marketing standpoint. But it's really like things get stale so quick on social media, like especially
Absolutely.
from like an artist perspective. Like it's different with content create, like it's different with what we do, because like
Hmm.
we can't do really anything that different. Like if we get too gimmicky, then we're too gimmicky. But with an artist, it's like they're always searching for the next gimmick. It's almost like you need to be gimmicky, but you can't be the old gimmick. You have to create the new gimmick for you to
Yeah,
pop off, if that makes
constantly.
sense. And
Absolutely.
it's so it's just so crazy to watch that. And like you think something's really cool, like for example, the couple that just kind of busted through, that did that song together. She's kind of an established country singer, but her
Mhm.
husband wasn't really. They
Yeah,
wrote
I know
their
what you're
first
talking
song
about.
together. I forget their name. Anyway, like that just blew up, and then all of a sudden everybody tries to follow them. Everybody's like, let's do duets, more duets, more duets. And it's like
Hmm.
nobody else is breaking through with that. Like that's
Yeah.
how fickle that marketing like scene is like one person will pop through with something like that, but if somebody else tries to do the same thing, it's like it's not going to work for them.
Well, it's also a timing issue, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
like, I talk a lot about country radio has a really long tail. So, like, the average country song that goes number one is on the charts for like 70 weeks at this point. Like, it's crazy. It
Mm,
takes over a year
yeah.
for a song to go number one. So,
Hmm.
when you think about like how fast trends change on the internet,
Yeah.
that's not helpful for anybody, right? So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Dylan Marlowe is a great country artist. His
Hmm.
song Boys Back Home went number one, I think, in January this year. It came out in October of 2022. Yeah, like it's one of those
Crazy.
things where it was just like
Yeah.
it took this long for us to
Yeah.
get there. And this
That's
whole
crazy.
time, he's released an album. He's gone on headlining tours. He's
Mm,
done everything that as an artist who has a big hit should do. He's already done it, but now he's
mm.
like just now at the point where he
Yeah.
should do all those things. So you're like
Yes, like, I
you're
guess I gotta do it
constantly
again.
battling
Yeah.
trying to keep your fans engaged
Mm,
while the
mhm,
industry, how it's built currently, is like, yeah, there's this like 2% that you need to be engaging 99% of the time. And
mhm.
then the other 98% of the people only know one song, and we have to
Yeah.
play it for them for 16 months for them to
Yeah.
care enough to come buy a ticket. And the whole
Yeah.
time as an
Yeah.
artist, you're
Yeah.
like, but I'm selling, but look at the 2%. And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, but this 98%, you
Yeah.
know?
That's who we
And
really want.
I think that we're kind of coming around to a point where that's starting to change slowly but surely, but
Mm,
it's not going to happen easily.
mm. Yeah, and, like, just the release schedule too, like, music has changed, across all genres. It's not just country, but, like, now the expectation is you drop an album, and then 6 months later, you gotta drop a deluxe.
Oh
Like,
man, there's nothing I hate more than that. I'm a
I know.
vinyl records guy. I don't know if you
Yeah.
are, but I'm a vinyl
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So there's nothing worse than spending
Yeah.
$50 for a record, and then
Yeah.
when it comes out, there like the next week, there's here's 8 more songs. What do you mean? There's 8? Post Malone,
Yeah. Yeah.
F1 Trillion,
Yeah.
pre-ordered it, got it on vinyl. I don't
Mm.
even think I listened to both sides of it before they're like, and here's the bonus one. Here's 12
Yeah.
more songs. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Rebuy this whole damn?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate
I guess more people need to be like Morgan Wallen and just do 36 songs like right
Yeah,
out the gate. Just pop it off. It's like, nah, I'm gonna
I
do this.
prefer
And
that.
yeah.
I prefer that
But
100%.
that's kind of like it again. Like people are fighting the algorithm again, like on Spotify, and that's how they're trying to stay relevant is more releases, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like you drop, usually it used to be like you drop an album and you tour that album, maybe you do two tours of that album. Now it's like you drop an album, you tour, you drop a deluxe halfway through your tour, and then you like after that tour is done, you're like, I gotta start something else. I gotta get some features. I gotta, you know what I mean? What I need to
Yeah.
do something. Like you think of Noah Khan, he like he toured Stick Season. It feels like it's been 10 years since he's
Yeah.
released Stick Season. And he did a deluxe, he did his covers, he's just been going crazy. And then obviously he did his like live at was not Madison Square, wherever he was, Fenway Park or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, the fight for relevancy is so intense, and I do think that like country feels it a little bit more in the sense that like in hip hop, for example, it's nothing for an artist to put out like 30 songs in a year just because they're featured on them. Like, you know what I mean? Like featuring is such a huge thing, and that's such a big part of the hip hop culture, and it's becoming a part of every genre now, but
Yeah.
it's not as much. Like country artists aren't putting out, 10 to 30 features throughout a year. So the fight for relevancy is like more songs, more songs, more songs. Let's just cut more, like more, and like, and now I also have to think of, you know, featuring and like who should I feature with, and I don't know. It just seems like an insane rat race to like jump into.
Oh, I don't couldn't disagree more. It's insanity, but it is what it, it is
Yeah,
what it is, right, man?
yeah, totally.
My wife and I always say like the only way to do it is to do it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like that's
Hmm.
like we talk about like yesterday was a bad day content wise. Not because like some weeks in country music is so weird. It's so perfectly orchestrated for the big names. The little
Yeah.
names, you could spend every day of your life posting about a mid level country artist to
Hmm.
5 to 10,000 views and be like, that's nice, but it's
Hmm.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Morgan Wallen's tour starts Friday and Saturday.
Hmm.
Nothing will happen this week because
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen's
Yeah.
tour starts on Friday. You hear me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like on Monday next week, nothing will happen. And
Mm.
like everyone gets out of the way. When his album came out,
Yeah.
everyone just gets out of the way. And
Yeah.
they do that respectfully for all artists.
Mm.
So there's like the thing we're talking about this week, and then you hope something else happens. But when you're not going to the show, we're not going to the show on Friday. It's like, okay, well, we got to make something. Like the only way to make money this week is to figure it out,
Yeah. Yeah.
find something to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. You got to kind of go into the lower ranks maybe a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I have noticed that. There is like as much as there is competition within country, and like, you know, it's just as cut. The industry is just as cutthroat as any other major genre, but like there is a little less of competition when it comes to big time releases. Like people are very, very like, yeah, like you said, kind of respectful of like, hey, so and so's dropping, so we're just gonna take it easy for a little bit. Whereas like in other genres, sometimes it's like a competition. Like we're gonna drop at the same
Mhm.
time, or like, you know what I mean? Like hip hop especially is all about competition. It's basically built on that. But yeah, it is interesting how respectful they can be. They just like to cut your throat in the behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
On like a different note, what like so you obviously are traveling a ton. You're going to festivals, you're going to concerts. From maybe a festival standpoint, what are some of your favorite festivals to go to, or what are some like if somebody's like, you know, I love country, huge country fan, I could only go to one festival in the span of a year or two.
That's tough. All right. My favorite festival that I go to every year, we're going to go there again next month. Tickets are still on sale.
Mm.
And yes, they do pay us to say this, but I also believe it. Is Country Jam USA. It's in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, a place that I had rarely been before going for this event. Now, last year, when I lost my job that I had before doing this full time, I made a video where I was like crying and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to do this.
Yeah.
And the marketing person that worked there at the time reached out and was gracefully paid us to come to the festival, like
Well,
saved us for
yeah,
like a month.
yeah,
It was the greatest thing I've ever been to in my life. It's
yeah.
one stage primarily. There is a second stage during the day, but it's basically one stage. And if you buy the VIP, especially, food is free. Food is free the whole
Mm.
weekend, and it's reasonably priced. I think it's $150 to go. I want to say VIP is less than $500. Food is free. Drinks are free. All drinks,
Wow.
alcohol, regular, all weekend for less
Sheesh.
than $500. And they have
Crazy.
3 days of entertainment. Last year, I don't remember all the headliners, but I think it was Thomas Rhett, Brothers Osborne, and Hardy. We had like
Mm.
Ella Langley and Jackson Dean, and it went
Man,
on and
yeah,
on and on. This
yeah.
year, it's Sam Hunt, Bailey Zimmerman, and who's the other headliner? Maybe Cole Swindell or Jake Owen
Mm.
or
Okay.
someone else. It's a huge
Yeah,
show, but
yeah.
this festival has been going on for like 30 years. The festival grounds, the company that puts this on, they actually bought the land that it's on and it's built for a music festival. That's what it is
Mm.
all year long. You can go
Yeah.
there right now today. There's no festival happening. It's set up for the camping. There are setups. There's this where the stage would be is
Mm.
there. It is like
Mhm.
maintained to be a music festival.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
it is perfectly built from the ground up to do that. And
Mm.
it has Wi-Fi everywhere. They take care of everybody. The lineup is good. People have been going with their families for 3 generations. So like
Mm.
if you're new, everyone like knows that some people will be like, oh, you're new here. Like, let's talk. And by the time we just felt like family. Like the thing I was telling
Mm.
you about what makes country music great, that element of being like you belong.
Yeah.
This festival more than any other one, we've been to like over a dozen in the last year alone, was
Mm.
like I could come. I would if I had to pay to go to one of the festivals that we've been to. That's the first festival I always tell people I would spend my money on.
Mm. Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Cool. I'm curious, have you been to Cavendish?
No, we have not been to Cavendish yet.
Are you planning on it at any point?
I mean, maybe. So, kind of how it works for us right now is there are festivals that we're going to, but either we really want to go and we'll ask people if we can come out and they'll usually be very nicely go. Or more often the case, because of our schedule, is somebody has to like invite us out and they'll pay
Mm,
us. And full disclosure for most people, they pay us or they put us up somewhere. So we're
sure.
going to
Yeah.
Field and Stream Festival in October,
Mm,
but somebody, not the festival, one of the sponsors of the festival is flying us out and putting us up and doing all these things. So like we'll go and we'll make content, but it'll be
mhm.
brought to you by as of yet unannounced partner.
Yeah, yeah, totally. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about the Calgary Stampede? Have you been out that way yet?
No, but we are trying to get to Canada. Not for that one. There's another one in Canada that we've been talking to, and I cannot remember. They just announced the lineup, I think, today,
Hmm.
actually. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'll remember as soon as we're off this, and I'll feel bad.
Do you remember what
But
part of Canada it's in?
Montreal,
Oh,
yeah.
Montreal. Okay.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
but it
think.
looks
Like,
great.
obviously, the big festival I think of in Montreal is Oshéga.
Lasso. Lasso.
Lasso,
Lasso
yeah,
Country
yeah, I forgot
Festival.
that was in Montreal. They have
We're
a
working on
couple.
that one.
They have a couple big festivals. I don't know if you've ever heard of Oshéga. That's not country, but
Yep.
that's like a really big festival in Montreal. That's going to be coming up shortly. Um, yeah, they've got some pretty decent festivals out there. But yeah, the I've always heard good things about the Stampede in terms of like obviously there's more than just music. There's
Hmm.
the rodeo as well, but it's I've heard good things. I've also heard it's insane in terms of how many people are there, but I feel like that's every festival. I don't know if you can really avoid that. Like if you go to a
No,
festival
no.
and there's barely any people there, that festival probably won't be happening the next year. Um, so just how it kind of goes. But yeah, that's interesting. Wisconsin, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
I know that I've heard a lot about Sand in My Boots.
Yep. We did Sand in My Boots. Big fan. It was good, but like I don't, I love Sand in My Boots, but
Mhm.
it is also on average the most expensive ticket of any festival this year in
Really?
America. And
Wow.
$978 was the average ticket
Sheesh.
price. So I
Wow.
only don't recommend it because I feel
Mm,
like that's
expensive. Yeah.
I would never want someone to spend their rent money on a ticket.
Yeah.
And I
Totally.
understand that
Yeah.
for a festival you should. And I'm not even saying it wasn't worth it. You could
Mm,
buy a Morgan Wallen pit ticket for $900. You got to see Morgan Wallen in 3 other days worth of music. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it was worth the money. I'm just saying that like I feel like it's unrealistic when you could spend $300 and have like the time of your life
Yeah.
at a
Totally.
small festival.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Um, I do. To end, my wife would kill me if I didn't bring this up, but
Oh,
I,
please.
I need to hear your thoughts on Kelsea Ballerini and why every awards show ever hates her and has never given her anything.
I think that Kelsea Ballerini is amazingly talented. First show I saw this year was Kelsea Ballerini's arena headlining
Nice.
debut for her tour, which was incredible. I honestly didn't even like. I like Kelsea Ballerini, but I'm
Hmm.
not her target demographic. I can admit
Sure.
that. But
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the relationship people have with her music, right? Because
Mm,
it's a great example of something deeply personal, yet
mm.
for whatever reason universal. For
Yeah.
whatever, however
Yeah.
that magic happens, it works.
Mm,
Then I saw it and I was like, I remember my wife stayed home because we have the toddler. So if it's a
mm.
weeknight, she stays home. I go by myself. So they gave me a pit ticket. So you can imagine 38-year-old me in the pit by
Yeah.
myself with a phone being like, ooh, look at the girl. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was a whole thing. People were definitely confused.
Yeah.
Like 3 people asked me if I worked for her team. That's
Mm,
how out of place I look.
yeah. Yeah. They're
But
like, what's going on?
I was texting my wife and I was like, I get it. Like,
Mm,
I get it.
mm,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm,
this is, that's a church. It's like church to people in there.
mm, mm-hmm.
But I think when it comes to these big award shows, it's kind of like Taylor Swift syndrome, where it's like she does. Now Taylor Swift does win awards, but it's also like the audience has already awarded her. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, what is?
sure.
I feel like fans get obsessed with like they didn't give Morgan Wallen hasn't won Entertainer of the Year. I'm like, he's the top selling artist in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
He doesn't. The trophy doesn't matter.
Mm,
He has generational wealth.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
it only matters to people who are like people who are on some level are deeply like they just want everyone else to agree with them, right? They
Mm,
want you to also be like Kelsea Ballerini is the best artist of all time.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's a trophy for her. And
Yeah.
it's not enough that they know that and
Mm,
Kelsea believes that in her
mm,
soul.
mm.
Um, but I mean, I think it's funny. It's good for the awards, but it's also, I also think that sometimes if I wanted to be a deep, deep conspirator, you want to put on our tinfoil hats.
Let's do
I
it.
think that if I'm the Academy of Country Music, for example,
Mhm.
if I give Morgan Wallen all the awards every year, you're
Yeah,
not going to watch because
it's true.
Morgan Wallen's going to steal the show. But if
Hmm.
I deny your favorite artist an award year over year, you're
Yeah,
going to hate watch. You're going to hate talk. You're going to
yeah,
like the
yeah,
amount of engagement built off not giving Morgan Wallen, Luke
mm,
Combs, and Kelsea Ballerini awards and everything is
yeah,
worth so much more in terms of social currency than if
mm,
they had won and everyone was like, of course. That,
mm,
you know, no, the Grammys and the Oscars and all those award shows gain nothing from all of us sitting at home being like, correct.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
true.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if we all
yeah,
just agreed,
yeah,
no one would tweet about it. We'd be like, yeah, that's
yeah,
the right answer.
yeah,
Congratulations. We all did
yeah,
like that answer.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It was kind of like it's kind of like for the longest time the weekend boycotted the Grammys, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden he decided that he was going to come back, which I thought was so funny. Like it obviously was. I think like if I were to put my tinfoil hat on, I think the Grammys knew he is done. Like he announced, I'm no longer going to be making music under the weekend. I might not even be making music anymore. And I think the Grammys were like, man, we gotta like resolve this because like you said, people are hate watching, but like we need to hook this fan base before he's done, like totally done. Because I thought the timing was so strange because he literally put out that album, appeared on the Grammys, and he's like, I'm done. Like I'm done music now under the Weekend moniker, and it's like this is so strange. But yeah, I think I agree with that. There is a component, whether or not it's true. There's a component that like yeah, people will watch the Grammys or the ACMAs or whatever every year to see if Kelsea Ballerini is going to finally win, or if Luke Combs is going to finally win, or if Morgan Wallen will finally win, or whatever, whoever it is. Um,
But
if I,
also, if you're a person that watches these things, Kelsea Ballerini is maybe an exception. Just look at who goes. Like if at the
yeah,
beginning of the ACMs, they're like Luke
yeah,
Combs and Morgan Wallen aren't here,
no,
they aren't winning.
yeah, yeah,
Y'all, it's not. They aren't
yeah,
actually
exactly.
shocked.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They're not
uh,
going because they know. Yeah.
there's that saying about wrestling. I always quote this saying about wrestling. Wrestling is scripted, but it's not fake. It's kind
Mm.
of like that. If you
Yeah,
think, you know what I
yeah,
mean, it's just like
totally.
it's not that deep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe that's what makes it worse with Kelsea is that she so badly wants to win an award, and her fan base so badly wants her to win the awards. Whereas with Morgan and Luke, it doesn't. At least maybe they do want to win, but they're not showing it. If anything, they're actively showing like I don't care about this at all.
Yeah.
But Kelsea like so desperately, she's like there, she's cheering for people, she's on screen, and then she's like making videos after about how
Hmm.
sad she is and like all this stuff. Um, and like I know the big like for the ACMAs especially this year. Am I saying that right? Yeah, it's the ACMAs.
ACMs.
ACMs. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Academy of Country Music
No
award
award
series.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, they utilized her so much for promo, and like people
Hmm.
were her fans were so mad that they utilized her that
Okay,
much for
but then
promo, and then
but reverse engineer it from a Kelsea Ballerini standpoint, right? Because what
mhm,
you just said to me was at the biggest night of country music, the majority of the promotion and screen
is her.
time
Yeah,
was Kelsea Ballerini, like her
yeah,
face,
yeah,
her name, her face. If
hmm,
she wins or doesn't win, the
yeah,
value of the mentions and the thing like that's
absolutely,
that's why she does it. I don't think she
yeah,
cares about the trophy at all. Hosting that award show is better at the
mm,
end of the day. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I think
absolutely, yeah.
and also the tour sold well. She's good. She's good.
Oh yeah, she no, and that's the thing, and I actually liken Kelsea to Taylor in a lot of ways. A lot of it is like her fan base. She's kind of like if Taylor never left country. Like her fan base is as devoted to her as Taylor's fan base is devoted to Taylor, right? I just see a lot of parallels there. She's a very emotional writer. She writes like, you know, yeah, all of her like a lot of breakup stuff, a lot of relationship stuff. So it's different than like a Lainey Wilson. It's different than, you know, what all of your other big time female artists that are up and coming. Like she is a little different, but it feels very much like kind of this parallel with her and Taylor Swift because her fan base is so loyal, and yeah, it's shown several times. But yeah, I've always found it very interesting how, and maybe this is why I've been more curious about Kelsea than even like I've obviously recognized Morgan Wallen hasn't really won a lot. Luke Combs hasn't really. I'm sure there's other artists that are like that as well. Um, but I think the thing that made me the most curious about Kelsea is just how much it seems like she does want to win. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's just there to try to, build her platform, build her whatever. But like she's always at the ceremonies. She's always there. She's always like, it just seems like she really wants this. And it's like the Academy or whatever awards ceremony it is like, nah, like not this time.
It's good. It's better for country music. Dolly Parton doesn't win that many awards, but she's at
Yeah,
everything.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, and she's on a whole different level. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, we've been going for a while now. I don't want to keep you too long. I had to bring that up at the very end because, yeah, I just wanted to hear your 2 cents on it. And my wife
No, I
is such a
appreciate that.
huge Kelsea Ballerini fan that she'd be like, "Can't believe you talked to a country guy and did not talk about Kelsea Ballerini
Yeah,
once."
she's great. She's great. I think that song "Baggage" is going to go down as one of the biggest pop country songs of the decade. It's
Yeah,
huge. I
it
mean, I
is
love
huge.
it. Seeing it
Huge.
live,
Yeah.
transform. I mean, I loved it. I had already heard
Yeah.
it, and loved it, but man, and that's why she released a live version because I remember she did it like
Mm,
it was 4 songs into the set, and you were like, I can go
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
such like a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my wife saw her when she came through Nashville here and she said the same thing that like Baggage was like one of the best moments of that tour. There were several really good moments, but she said Baggage was one of them that she just felt like that was yeah, just amazing. And again, I like it to Taylor Swift. Like that's the same thing she does. Taylor Swift captivates her audience like that. Sure, Kelsea Ballerini doesn't quite have that crazy show that Taylor puts on, but like I just feel like the way they hook their fans and the way they write is just so similar. So I don't foresee Kelsea Ballerini having any damage from not winning awards by any means. If anything, it'll probably make it the lore better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, and last thing I'll say about it is I did go to the Eras tour, and yeah, I would compare like if anyone's seen the movie of the Eras tour, the way that
Mm,
that pop in the bridge of "Cruel Summer" is exactly what it felt like when she hit the last chorus of "Baggage." Like as someone that was
yeah.
at both events,
Hmm.
that energy, this like
Yeah.
the crowd is louder than you thought it could be, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, we're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like you said, a religious experience.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I didn't think fans could be even more obsessed. Like I didn't think they could get to another level, and then they just did. Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
But yeah, man,
Um,
thank you so much for letting me hang out with you for a little bit.
yeah,
It's been a good time. So hopefully I gave you some good answers, and
no, it
people
was
hopefully come hang out for more country music in the future.
yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you on again. Like that's the beauty of a channel like yours is you've always got content because you're really like news focused. Like obviously you're doing music review type stuff as well, but yeah, I'm sure there'll be some really cool stuff to talk about in the future. I'd love to have you on again. Really appreciate it. If anybody's out there and they don't follow Country Minute, go give it a follow. You won't be disappointed. I watch your stuff all the time. Even though, like I said, pop country isn't not that that's all you do, but pop country isn't my favorite, but I'm still just I love the news. I don't know, maybe I just love the tea. I don't know what it is, but
Listen, man,
um
I love it too. I love
you've
it
got
too.
great content. So yeah, anyway, thanks for coming on. And for those of you listening, I appreciate you guys tuning in and tune in next time for another episode and another guest.